In the last video, we discussed embeddings as one of the steps that an LM goes through when processing an input text. In this video, I wanted to talk about the MTEB Leaderboard, which ranks different models that are made for the specific purpose of embedding inputs. If you look at the MTEB Leaderboard at your own time, there's a chance that it might not look like this, because these are the top models as of when this video was recorded. These embedding models are ranked based on a lot of benchmarks, and there's even some general data on these models. For example, embedding dimensions just means how many numbers are stored when the model embeds the text, and the larger this is, the more it can represent of a word, because the more numbers, the more meaningful of a representation there is. But that also means that the model will produce a larger output, meaning that there's more for the model to process. The models also have a max tokens limit, which we discussed before is the maximum amount of tokens that it can take in one request. If you look at this area over here in the green, these are the different types of benchmarks that it's been tested on, and then a mean is calculated to see which one is rated the highest. Just because a model is ranked number 1 doesn't mean it's the best at everything. As you can see here, the first model in first place is the highest in a lot of categories. But if you look at categories like clustering or maybe multi-label classification, the number 1 model isn't best at these. So you have to choose based on your use case, and that's based on how it performs in each benchmark. And you look at the benchmark that's most relevant to what you want, and you choose the model that performs best. There are other things you can see. This is just a summary. Let's look at the performance per model size. If you look at the graph over here, the models with a bigger number of active parameters, which just means models that are bigger in size, they tend to perform better overall. And they also tend to have a higher number of max tokens that they can ingest. They also have information on the task that each model has to perform so that they can test it based on the different benchmarks. If you recall, there were different categories such as classification and clustering and retrieval when you look at the summary of the benchmarks. These are all the tasks that fall within it to determine which models are best at what type of task. You're not limited to filtering based on only text. You can also do image embeddings. You can do image and text both, and you have multilingual and English, and you also have just images too. There's also audio embeddings, and there's domain-specific embeddings based on different domains that the model performs best in. And you can also filter based on which language you want to do. For the top 5 overall models, they have performance on each task type in this little diagram over here. As you can see, they perform pretty similarly on all the tasks, and they do pretty bad at instruction re-ranking. Some of these different performance type tasks you won't be able to understand until we reach section 3 when we talk about things like RAG, and this includes things like regular re-ranking or instruction re-ranking. Let's say the task types aren't specific enough for you. You can look at the specific tasks, and if one of these specific tasks is relevant to your use case, you can see which model performed best, because you might choose the best model out there, but it's not going to be the best performing one for every single task. Even though it is for this one, marked by the bold number here, it's not the best for maybe this task. Maybe you'd want to use this model instead for that task. Maybe the use case of your application is not even in English. Then you can look at different languages. It makes sense if you don't really understand what each task does or even what the task types are. You'll be able to identify these by the time you finish this course, and we'll come back to the MTEB Leaderboard at a later moment when you're able to understand these concepts better. I hope this video gave you a general understanding of what the MTEB Leaderboard is. And it's okay if you don't understand everything yet, because by the time we reach topics like RAG, you'll finally be able to understand this whole thing when we come back to it. See you in the next video.